Today we are talking about how we pre-qualify our clients so that we don't end up wasting a bunch of time. And this is based off of, today's topic is based off of a mistake that I myself had made so many times. If you're new here, I got my real estate license and became a full-time realtor, not on a team when I was 18. And I did a lot of cold calling and door knocking to get my business back in the day. And because of this, I got really good at getting the clients, but what I had to really work at for years to get good at was actually getting into a good groove of things and actually doing a good job for them once I got the clients. So getting the business was the easy part for me, but then actually giving them good service was the hard part. And I've learned the hard way, and this is one big thing I think would have prevented so many of my transactions in my early years from going sideways in the beginning of my business, was setting proper expectations with clients up front instead of assuming that they know things. So that's really like the big thing is setting expectations. What are ways we do? We either pre-qualify or just set expectations so that we don't end up wasting our time or their time, and just so that things go smoother in general throughout the whole entire time of working with them. So we've got a lot. I've really thought through this. I've written out in the notes section of my phone. If you can see, you can't see this far away, but I've got a lot. Spencer can see. We're scrolling through. I've got a lot that we're just going to read through and then have a conversation.
You know why I really like this today is I know you. I know the old you.
You know the old me.
I know when you first got in the business. I know when you were just, getting out of being a rookie in the business. And you just... everything you just said, so truthful. She's like spilling her heart out right now. So guys, if this is you right now and you're new to the business, or you're in the business, you've been in it for 10 years, you got in a bad rut, think about how you can keep your clients qualified and get smooth transactions, because at the end of the day, that's what's going to get you guys the most referrals and happy transactions, but easy transactions. And you guys can agree with me, easy transactions are the best.
Yes.
When
and
you
that is
get
all,
an offer, you accept it, we close in 30 days, smooth sale, cool. There was a couple negotiations in the inspection period, signed it off.
Yes.
Lender's in touch, everybody's good to go, okay? Because ultimately that is where it's at business-wise. That is how you're going to get repeat referral-based clientele. And I am actually really curious what Mariah has to say.
And just your life is better. Yeah, he has no idea. He's just here.
That's like me most days.
Add his 2 cents in.
I get to be here. I'm a manager. And hopefully Mariah doesn't go too wild on us today. So
we'll see.
Pay attention. Listen in. This is great stuff for that introduction.
Yes. So we're gonna spill all the tea today. I have my tea. Grab your tea.
And what type of coffee did you make me today? It's a little watery, by the way. You should have put more grind in it. Yeah.
Well, it's...
I like my stuff super strong. Like, we went to a place called French Press earlier this morning. My cousin, he surprised us this morning with a phone call. Hey, bud, I'm in Salem. Can I stop by? He's lived with us the last 2 years. He goes to Linfield University now, and he plays football and wrestles with them. And of course, it's always exciting to see him. And so we took him out, and I show him why I go to this place called French Press.
Oh, because you got a little coffee.
So I get this little tiny cup full of just straight shot espresso, and I say, it's like I'm in Paris right now. I've never been to Paris, but I can only imagine that's what I'll do when I'm in Paris.
It's like a tiny little cup. It was cute. It was cute. Okay, so before we get into the expectations, I have a quote, and this is from This Is Marketing by Seth Godin. I think that's how you say his name. This applies to this, I think. So this is something to keep in mind. He says, we know every best-selling book on Amazon has at least a few 1-star reviews. It's impossible to create work that both matters and pleases everyone. So going into this is something to keep in mind. These are all things that we do to have happy clients, but at the end of the day, you can't please everyone. You're every now and then you're going to have someone that's going to go and
they're going to go AWOL
about something
sometimes.
that wasn't your fault, or something's going to go sideways, and you'll get it's just going to happen. So that's just something to keep in mind.
It's easy to blow up.
Yes.
Don't say things you regret. Don't say things you don't mean. It's better to keep your mouth shut. Don't reply. Transaction's over. They're never going to be happy no matter what you do. Remember that.
Okay, so some of these are for ways we set expectations for home sellers, and then some of them are for home buyers to have happy happy clients and happy transactions and just everything be easier and smoother and all of that good stuff. So the first thing is make videos. So now this sets expectations in a very easy way. So here's what I mean by that. Last year, when most agents working with buyers were having a very hard time, and that's all I heard from when I would talk to other agents or see it online, was just complaining because it was so difficult to get clients under contract. I had the smoothest time. I worked way less and made way more, and I got clients under contract very quickly and easily. And I think the biggest reason for this is because my clients had seen my videos online. They either came from the videos, or I would send them the videos or point them to the videos to educate them. And the reason this made things so easy is because the things I was talking about in the videos were just straight honesty about what we really were seeing in the market. I would share stories of what it's actually taking to get buyers under contract and give all types of real estate advice that buyers needed to know. So going into things before we even started looking at houses, my buyers knew we're going to have to write 20,000 over. And this was, like I said, last year, things were different, to even have a shot in our market. That's what it took. And they knew that. So I wasn't having to convince them. They had watched all my videos. They knew what was going on. And so they trusted me because they'd watched so many videos, and I was the expert in their eyes because I've put myself out there, and they took my advice. And all of this was setting expectations for them. And it made so much of a difference. Like I'm talking, like I said, I had a very, very easy time, and I did not see that from most other agents around during that time with buyers. It was the opposite. And so I would say those making videos that are going to be things that your clients, whether they're videos that are for the general public or they're videos you're just going to share with your clients somehow, like these are ways of setting expectations. Like just think, what are things that if my clients knew this up front, everything's going to go smoother, and then talk about that, speak on that. And so that they know up front, and you don't have to be having all
that
these
expectation.
mistakes.
So
things go
important.
sideways. But I mean, expectation with the market, that's really what that was, but also just with the buying process in general.
Yeah. And you can like write out a checklist. You can do a video just like Mariah said, but don't be complacent, because real estate's always revolving. So every quarter, or, it's hard because 2 months ago, things were different than even this month in real estate. So if you see change in the market, please update your material, update your client expectation list or video, whatever you're making, because it is easy. We've all been there to just send out that link, send out that same copy paste tag, same email, without ever updating it. So make sure you are updating your stuff, and that's your platforms too. Make sure you're evolving with the times as well.
Right. Okay, so this next thing that I do is also setting expectations for buyers, and this has helped, I believe, a lot. So I have in the note section in my phone multiple messages. One of them is a message for right after we get an offer accepted on a home. And it is a long, like I'm telling you, it's a novel. It's a novel.
I don't know if I'd like that text.
Here's the thing. I warn them. I say this message I'm about to send you, like literally this is all in the copy and pasted message. I say, like, I'm warning them, this is going to get really, really long, but I just want you to save this. I'm going to email it to you, and I'm going to send it to you in your phone so you have it both places, whatever is easiest for you. Just save it so that you can refer back and look to it at any time if you have questions or want to know what's going on. And of course, I tell them, call me if you want further explanation on any of this at all. But this saves me a lot of time from just having to make multiple calls and explain things to people. And it saves time and it helps things go smoother. But basically, I'm literally walking them through like everything from congratulations, your offer's accepted. That's amazing. Here's what's next. And I tell them about earnest money. This is when we need to get it in. And then this is what we need to do for the inspection. And then I literally
and this explain. This is after the offer's accepted?
Yes, this is what I send as soon as they have an accepted offer. And I explain everything from like the very next step until we give them the keys. And not that like, oh, I send this message and I'm out, guys. Like, see you later. That's not the thing. No, but this is just so that like, it's like an assurance so that you know, like
Absolutely.
just like a double check. Like, I just feel like this helps a lot. So that's something else that I do with buyers. You don't do that, do you?
I personally don't do that. I'm just routinely calling and just on things for my clients. If things come up, hey, I'm going to deal with it. And if I can deal with it, then I'm going to personally get it done rather than bring it up to you.
Right.
And because us agents, we can usually work things out before we even get to paper and present it to clients. So that's one of the benefits in our business that I've learned in the past is don't, how do I put this? Shoot yourself in the foot by telling your client false expectations of the other party. So if something's brought up that's a real negative issue, don't bring it up right away after you got that phone call, because sometimes people sit on it and actually change their mind, and then it's never a big deal. And we just keep on moving forward in the transaction.
Yeah. Okay, so next, this is more with sellers, which we'll get into. I'll ask you about this in a sec because you're really more of the seller guy right now. But this is something that I dealt with recently with a seller that I had listed a home for. So the seller was looking at the prices of two different homes in their neighborhood, and they were both very, very similar to hers. And she was using these as the base point as to why she wanted to list her home at a certain price. And these homes in the neighborhood that were for sale were quite a bit over, like a lot over what my comps had suggested it would sell for. The seller was pretty persistent in this situation. So in a situation like this, I will either email this to them thoroughly with a lot of explaining if that's how they are wanting to communicate with me, or I will print it off and highlight all these things. So I will highlight the days on market of these homes in the neighborhood that they're wanting to compare this to, and explain that that's why, they've been on the market this long. And it sounds really simple. So maybe you're like, well, duh, that's obvious, but I didn't do this for a really long time. So to me, this is new. No, for sellers.
Oh, for sellers.
So this home was in a neighborhood and recently, and there were other homes in the neighborhood for sale, and they were looking at these other homes that were for sale, and they were way over the comp price that I had suggested, wanting to price them similarly, saying, well, my home's like the same as these ones, but they didn't understand like the days on market situation. So because there weren't a lot of comps. So let me just say for this particular,
technically they're not going to sell.
Right. There weren't a lot of comps, like recently sold comps. So also we were looking at what's on the market right now, like what will be our competition. And they were comparing to those. And I had written out a very thorough email explaining to them about the days on market of each of those homes they were wanting to, like they were on the market for a while. And then I also printed it and highlighted the days on market for them. So that's something, like I said, it's simple and maybe it's obvious, and I should have been doing it for years. It's not like, a huge thing, but that is something that I do.
And that's during your listing consultation?
Just to help things. Another thing as far as like setting expectations to help things go smoother with clients.
Yeah.
So,
because I've been there. I mean, maybe you have too, but if a seller just has this unrealistic expectation. Yeah. I've said this statement to him. I said, hey, honestly, this is what I think it's going to go for. Sorry you've been told otherwise. You're free to go with them. There are some agents that just give the highest price and roll the dice and hope you select them just for that high price quote. But this thing has to appraise, and it might just sound like this isn't the right job for me, because I just don't see a realistic sales price here. And you walk away. Sometimes that's worked as a sales tactic as well, though, because people love honesty, and they say, you know what? They sit on it for 3-4 days, and that's why they hired me in the end, just because they knew I have integrity in that manner, and I just don't take another listing to take it, and add it to my portfolio and put it on the shelf. We take listings to get them sold and put money in our sellers' pockets, and we write offers for our buyers. Same reasoning. I want to write an offer that's realistic, that's in this market and supports this home and gets you the best deal ultimately.
Right. Okay. So nextly, Spencer, so is there anything, since you're, like I said, you're dealing with most of our sellers right now, how are you preparing them as far as setting expectation goes, especially since the market has changed a little bit? Is there anything you're telling them differently to set that expectation of like, hey, you might be thinking your home's going to sell in 2 days because your neighbor's home did not too long ago, but here's what's actually going on right now. Like, is there any conversation you're having.
Yeah. There is the conversation. I call it the conversation because the term I use is the swing market. We're in a swinging market right now for buyers and sellers. So that's the good news. It's not just terrible downhill market crash plummet like you're used to if you hear that term. It means we're more on a level playing ground. And then I explained to them how the nearby area has shifted and changed since 6 months ago when your neighbor did actually sell their home, because odds are I have that comp already selected, and we discuss, what I saw versus what they think compared to their current home, because that's our job, is to be so aware with the market. They come up with the questions such as their neighbor's home sale, because that's usually the question listing agents are talked to about is, hey, my neighbor sold this property for this amount, and why isn't my house priced that? And usually it's when you're at a lower sales price. It's your job as the agent to be the professional and with an honest opinion say, here's why I think, things aren't happening for that sales price. Now, if they think otherwise, it is what it is. Yeah, you're entitled to different opinions. But the open and honesty and transparency aspect right now is all the more important, especially with the realistic expectations of days on market and things not being sold in 3 days with 10 offers, like maybe they heard from a family friend they got on their home, 6, 7, 8 months ago. That's been the real breakdown factor. And then lastly, I'm reverting it to real estate agents now. I used to say in that market when we were receiving 10 other offers, how are you looking any different? I'm saying, how am I looking different in these listing consultations? Because I know they just hired 3-4 other agents. How am I going to win? Some agents are discount brokers. Some companies discount all the way to, a 3%, 4%.
Yeah.
We work at a brokerage where that's not our business. We don't discount. We don't take for sale by owner and just list them on the MLS and do it for a small fee. It's just not the way we do it. It's a sign of professionalism, I believe, in the quality of work you perform.
Yeah.
So that's another thing that we can talk about as well for me representing my sellers is how I'm going to look different than the other agent. And sometimes it's throwing more money at the listing to support it at a sales price they and I both agree on that can be a record sales price in that neighborhood.
That's all really good. Okay, so the last thing that I had written down as far as setting expectation goes is, like I mentioned, I think it was last week in a video we had made, was just simply having because this was another thing that I never did before. Before I take on any buyer client, I'm 100% of the time going to have a consultation with them, whether that's over the phone or FaceTime, sometimes in person, but usually it's not. And this is really just about setting expectation. And again, it's not this whole crazy, like I don't have like a speech. It's really chill. It's laid back, but I do believe it helps the whole process go a lot smoother. Is just setting down that expectation up front. Because a lot of times I feel like a big complaint from especially first-time buyers, or really buyers, any kind of buyer though, because if you are not a first-time buyer, you probably haven't bought a home in the last few years. And so you're going to forget or like still have all these questions, is they just feel like they're in the dark. They don't know what's going on. They don't know the process. So really just being able to answer questions and give them any, advice and expectations, I'm saying that word again, up front as to what to expect with the process. It makes a big difference, I think, instead of just showing up at a house and then going from there. I don't know. That's changed my business in a lot of ways. Just helping things go smoother and things are easier.
And something you've incorporated is that service aspect to your client. So yes, you're giving them this book of knowledge of, hey, this is what a transaction looks like from A to Z. But guess what? I'm going to be with you every step of the way. I'm going to be making the calls if you like me to. There's some personalities, they want to control it all. Clients, they want to hire, they want to know all their facts. You can be a resource and refer them to vendors to call and find out contractor wise and inspections and appraisals and stuff like that, or lenders. But ultimately, be a service to them. If they ask you to do something, do it. And if they're asking you a question, that generally means your client probably doesn't know any better, on who to use. And so step up, be that agent that steps up, whether that's spending a little bit more money towards the listing or towards the home that's being purchased, that's out of your pocket that your client isn't even aware of. Usually that's gas expenses, and just time, in your opinion. I mean, a lawyer, it's like $250, $500 an hour. Think about if we were paid in that. To me, that's time, that's money, but we're not paid for it. So think about how you're going to be bringing your client more service. And that's what gets a transaction dealt with from A to Z, and less anger or frustration on all parties. And it comes down to the communication side.
Yeah. All right. So a couple things before we end. What do you do that sets expectations for your clients and helps things go smoother and, helps everyone be happy at the end of the working relationship? Do you do any of these things? Do you do anything differently? I'd love to hear about that in the comments below. Also, feel free to send us any of your real estate questions. We do come on here and do Q&As and answer your questions pretty frequently. So send us any questions, comments, email us, or Instagram DM. We'll put our information in the description, and we'll see you guys next week.